It's a battle to stay on the land for many of Sydney's farmers. They are slowly being pushed out of the Sydney Basin by big development.
You only have to drive around and you'll see urbanisation and the proposed 10,000 new homes at Wilton, which was announced by Wallandilly Shire Council just this week, is a direct result of developers that have bought large tracts of land that was previously agricultural land used for grazing in the Wilton area.
Ed Beale grows summer fruit, nashi and citrus fruits for Sydney-siders to share. He's been farming at Wanaka Orchard for 25 years in a prime example of urban agriculture.
We are here, as I explained earlier, within sight of the Sydney Harbour Bridge. We're at an elevation of 400 metres, that's why we can see the Sydney Harbour Bridge, but we're 90 kilometres from it.
He's not making any return from the produce he grows in Oakdale.
If I sold this land to a wealthy businessman who would like to commute into the city by helicopter or by car, it would be worth far more than what I earn from it as a primary producer.
Food, water and shelter are increasingly competing for ground. All are key to human survival, but it's shelter that's winning out. Competition for urban land has made prices untenable. And then there's the issue of supply. Sydney's farmers just can't meet the prices supermarkets demand. Like many, last season Ed operated at a loss.
I can't sustain it. If I continue to lose money, I will have to shut down because I'm not a charity. I cannot continue to lose my money to provide that food for people in the city.
Food security may seem an obscure third world problem, but each urban farmer squeezed off the land is a knock to our ability to feed ourselves. David Mason is the urban agriculture leader with the New South Wales Department of Primary Industries.
Sydney's nowhere near sustainable in food in its own context. For Sydney-siders to say that they are food secure, I think they'd have to be producing between 25 and 33% of the total food they ate.
We currently grow a tenth of what we eat in Sydney. So if we're not sustainably producing food, why are we allowing development to encroach on our agricultural land? Kath and Happy Fia farm in Sydney's southwest growth corridor in a small suburb called Catherine Field.
As you go down the road, you'll see all the new homes going up. When we started here, this was predominantly rural. There were no plans really to develop. But as we've through the years, it's getting closer and closer, and I reckon we've probably got 5 years before this will be someone's home site.
She says the average Sydney-sider relies on food always being there and is unaware of the problems facing farmers.
It's almost like open the bucket and there's food. If you talk to people who actually care about what happens, look, they're really worried about, why are we taking the ability for us to feed ourselves as a community away and giving it to other communities to do. So,
Now, because the average Sydney-sider doesn't realise that there is the agriculture that is around Sydney present, they're not putting pressure on government firstly or the retailer. The government mouths or says that it supports farming but does nothing to do it, to actually physically support it. That, I think, will change. It must change.
Sydney's population is set to rise by 1.3 million by 2031. To house them, we'll need half of the existing non-urban, non-national park land. Alison McLaren served as Blue Mountains City Councillor for 8 years and has been president of the Western Sydney Regional Organisation of Councils for 4.
Unfortunately, too many politicians have viewed industries like agriculture and manufacturing as dinosaur industries, and they've not invested in them.
Food supply chains have become increasingly long, complex and vulnerable. At any time, Sydney has a fresh food supply of 3 days.
Agriculture and housing have to coexist because, as noble as it is to ensure that everyone is housed, we also need to ensure that everyone is fed. And we cannot continue to rely on international sources for our food. You do not know what's going to happen at some point, whether it's going to impact the supply of food from overseas, or whether there's going to be war or other outbreaks in countries that we're very reliant on food for.
A city without urban agriculture is a city without the lungs it needs to breathe.
I feel very sad, not only for the farming community, but for the Sydney community. The urban community is losing a very precious asset. And anybody that would like to see a green desert and a basin full of smog, pollution and very unhappy and unhealthy people, then keep developing the way it is and don't protect your agriculture.